doing it. Okay. Just looking at all the new possibilities. So welcome everyone to our deep dive into the Manual for Teachers, A Course in Miracles. I'm so grateful for everyone being here. And we had a few little glitches this evening getting started, but everything is cool now. And so what we are going to be doing is we're in the Manual for Teachers. We just finished the characteristics of the teachers of God. And I, for one, discovered so many things that I could be doing better. I could be more more faithful about. And you know, I'm just so grateful for Jesus wanting to help me with my mind. And so I turned off the transcription, I think. If you guys want me to leave it on, I will leave it on. But
I like it.
Okay, well then we will. Okay, so it is on. Is it on? Are you seeing it now?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, very good. Very good. All right. So we are on how is healing accomplished? And Jesus starts out just with one sentence introduction or 2-sentence introduction. He says, healing involves an understanding of what the illusion of sickness is for. Healing is impossible without this. And so that right off the bat, let me see who's calling. Okay, all right, here we go. Jennifer is needing the link. Let's see. Dove, can you text Jennifer and give her the link?
Yeah. Okay. I'll give it to her. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So let me tell her that you're going to send it to her. I think she heard me when I said that. Okay. So, okay. All right. So he starts out just telling us that healing involves an understanding of what the illusion of sickness is for. Healing is impossible without this. So, you know, I think about all the ways that we talk about healing and think about healing, and I've really been thinking about it a lot lately, because when people are troubled, something is going wrong, there's a problem, you know, and people say, you know, I'm sending you prayers, I'm sending you blessings. You know, I'm blessing people all the time. I'm praying for people all the time. But, you know, Jesus is telling me here that it's impossible. Healing is impossible without an understanding of what the illusion of sickness is for. So what are all my prayers and blessings doing? You know, I mean, I'm sure they're nice and I'm sure they're good, but as long as I believe in sickness, then, you know, what is the point? What help can I possibly do? I don't know. Does anybody have any thoughts about that? Have you been thinking about this too, and or not?
Yeah, I want to say a couple of words. This is one of the most important statements in the entire course. I allude to this statement almost all the time. It's one of the 2 places that Jesus gives us a disclaimer. He says, even though I've given you 1,300 pages on how to heal your mind, unless you want to know why you want to be sick, which he calls the perceived purpose of sickness, you can't be healed. He tells you that. He says healing is impossible. I mean, this is Jesus saying, you know, even though I'm giving you this Course in Miracles, it's not going to work unless you know why you're doing this to yourself. And we're about to find out. But basically, as long as we think that we can do things by ourselves, and I learned all the concepts, I know all the lessons, I know, it doesn't work. And we'll find out why. Basically, the other place he says the exact same thing, which is lesson 190, paragraph 8. He says, you know, you paid a real handsome ransom for the pain. And the only reason you did it, you wanted to deny your father his fathership of his son. And you wanted to deny your father the joy of being the father to a son who has joy. So as long as we do things by ourselves, literally we are shortcutting ourselves. We're in a cul-de-sac that just goes round and round, and there's no way out because we think that we can do it ourselves. I don't know if there's any questions on that. Obviously, the idea of this course is to turn it over to the Holy Spirit because we cannot do it ourselves.
Yeah, does anybody else have any thoughts about that?
I do. Anybody or anything, but basically when I pray for someone else, I'm really just praying for myself. And if I'm actually am praying for someone else and someone else, then there might be a little bit of my small self involved in that because it makes my small self feel good. But the course, from my understanding, is teaching me that that there is no sickness. So I just need to learn how to let go of my belief or anything that's blocking me from being happy, healthy, and whole. And so I'm going through that right now. So it feels like today is a good day I tuned into this particular meeting because I'm in the illusion. I'm listening to the loud voice, what is my friend Mike calls it? Oh gosh, and it's so funny. Oh, I can't even think of it. Oh, I don't remember what. Anyway, I just got to laugh at that. I'm healthy, except for my belief or whatever it may be, whatever it may be. So I don't know. Anyway, thanks for listening. Oh, it's this. I listen to my bloated nothingness. and I like to look, I like to say that because it's so ludicrous. And so it brings a smile to my face, and that's part of what I need to do all day long is to continuously smile at my bloated nothingness. There's nothing there. It's a good reminder.
Okay. Thank you, Dennis.
It is a good reminder. I'm trying to get Regis in. He's having trouble too with the link.
I put the link in the room and he was there, but okay.
Well, I was putting it in the room too, Dov, and it wasn't showing up. I don't think you were seeing it.
Was there a new link this week? Because I had problems getting in as well.
Yes, Tom, there's a new link. I'm going to put it in the chat. So just go copy it and
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah,
okay.
this is a cool link. It really is.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And let's see, Lucy's asking where the page is. Let me.
It's page 17 of the manual.
Thank you, Dov. I don't have my physical book with me.
Page 17 of the teacher's manual.
Okay. Oh yeah, there's my book. Okay. So so yeah, this is we got a whole, as I was explaining to people earlier, that for my birthday this year, I had a fundraiser for the One Mind Foundation to raise some money to get some stuff, and this was one of the things I was hoping to be able to do, was to upgrade this Zoom, and so that's exactly what I did. And,
No advance warning.
I know. Well, it just happened. Like it was just like a sudden thing. It was like one day I was just it came up and there was a thing on Zoom and it said, this day only, 60% off of this pro thing, and I'm like, what? And so I looked at that and I called Dub and said, hey, can we, maybe think about doing that? And he said, yeah, that's a great idea. So I just went ahead and got it. And so I got a much more expensive program for what I would have paid for a lot less decent one so I'm really happy. And we have now the closed captioning, which I did make the font a little bigger so that it's a little easier to read. And so hopefully everything is cool. So yeah, so anybody else have any thoughts about this whole idea of understanding what the illusion of sickness is for? What do you think? I know Jesus is going to talk to us about it here in a minute in the perceived purpose of sickness, but can you think of anything in your life that would make you want to be sick? What, or in any, what is it for? What is sickness for? Does it help us in any way? Does it improve us in any way? What is it?
Go ahead. Does somebody want to share?
Well, I can only look at myself as guilt. And so it's like whether a subconscious way of punishing myself. That's the only thing I can kind of look at it that way.
Okay.
So once again, unravel all of this, and the Course in Miracles is perfect about that, amongst other spiritual paths. But to me, Course in Miracles is, 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous do the same thing, basically. Yeah. Where I forgive myself instead of punishing myself.
So the question is, why would we have a sick mind? Actually, he's not talking about the body being sick at all. He's talking about the mind, and we'll find out on the same page 17 that we have an authority problem. Since I think that I'm an individual and separate, I'm trying to, when I say the ego is edging God out and saying, hey, listen, I don't need you as my authority. I'll take care of everything. And it's in that I'll do it myself attitude that gets us into being a separate, divided mind that's at war with itself. Basically, we think we're talking to God, and we're really talking to ourselves. So I say I'll do it myself, and of course we just go into like a circular pattern, like on a merry-go-round. We just go round and round, and we're not accomplishing anything, because that's the whole idea of turning it over to the Holy Spirit. And I think it's on page 90 of the text, that famous thing where he says, I must have decided wrongly because I'm not feeling too well about all of this. I'd like to decide again. And this time I'm going to turn it over to you, Holy Spirit, to let you to decide for God, for me. It's the italics on the bottom of page 90 of the textbook. So we decided that we're going to do it. And he says, no, you don't want to do it. You're just going round and round. You turn it over to the Holy Spirit. And when you turn it over to the Holy Spirit, you're going into your real mind, not the mind between the ears. That's not the mind of God. The mind of God is way unlimited outside of the body. So when you say, I'm going to drive the car down the road, I don't need you, we're heading for a dead end crash, basically.
And I think too that sickness, it's a way of the ego of proving that it is a body and it is separate. So I'm sick, you're healthy, so I'm a body. It is a way of proving I am a body because I'm sick. A body can be sick. And we're separate because you're healthy and me, I'm sick. And it likes to praise himself too. Like when it's sick, a lot without knowing, sometimes we'll do that, oh, I went through this and oh my God, and it's not over. It's the ego that likes to praise himself, and people say, oh my God, how did you do it? Oh my God, you're so strong. But it's not being strong when you really think about it. It's the mind that is weak. But it's a way of proving his existence as a body.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that too, Kathleen, because what and I think that goes along with what Denny was saying too, is that that's a part of proving that God's wrong. Is if physical sickness is the same thing as saying God screwed up, and there's something wrong with me, and it's God's fault, and then feeling guilty for blaming God for my problem, and it's we just go around and around and around. But I do think we do punish ourselves through sickness. We do punish ourselves through hurting the body, and we suffer through the body because we believe that it's real, and we believe that it's capable of experiencing sickness and fear and anger and all those things. But in reality, all that is of the body, and it doesn't. It is a sickness is a spiritual problem. But it manifests in the body. So if you're experiencing sickness in the body, that is just a proof that the body is real and that God's wrong. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
I'd like to just touch on this topic here, and I missed the beginning, the reading, but I did have COVID a year ago, and this was a little different for me than, and I don't get sick very often, but this time I didn't really buy into it. I mean, I knew I had it. I was laid up I was in my bedroom for 16 days in bed. But I didn't invest any of my belief in it. In other words, yes, I knew I had COVID, but I also knew that who I really am is unaffected by it. It reminds me of, there's just one line I read in the course many years ago, and it's always stuck with me. And it just says, all healing is healing of the mind. So because my body gets old and withers and gets, may come down with a disease and passes away, that in reality, that doesn't affect who I really am, who I truly am. So, I don't want to confuse the two. I don't want to confuse the sickness of my body of the sickness of who I really am. I don't know if this is making sense, but what I'm saying is, when I had COVID, I just kept handing it over. Be you in charge was the words I remember saying. I just continually said that from lesson 365, be you in charge. And, there was a peace there. There was a calm there. Even though I was, if you looked at me, I looked terrible. I was, like I said, laid up in bed. But I knew this time that what was true was not affected. So that's all.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, and thanks, Thomas. That's the final lesson of the course, lesson 365. Holy Spirit, I put you in charge at my request. That's the final lesson. In fact, he does it 5 days in a row from December 26th to the end of the year. Holy Spirit, I put you in charge at my request, knowing the direction that you lead is going to bring me peace. If I need a word, you'll give it to me. If it's a thought, you'll give me that too. And if it's just a still and tranquil mind, that's going to be mine as well. So you're taking yourself out of the authority position.
Beautiful. Thank you. So,
Thank you.
anybody else have any comments before we go ahead and read the first paragraph? Who would like to read?
I'll read.
Okay.
Paragraph 1. Healing is accomplished the instant the sufferer no longer sees any value in pain. Who would choose suffering unless he thought it brought him something, and something of value to him? He must think it is a small price to pay for something of greater worth. For sickness is an election, a decision. It is the choice of weakness in the mistaken conviction that it is strength. When this occurs, real strength is seen as threat and health as danger. Sickness is a method conceived in madness for placing God's Son on his Father's throne. God is seen as outside, fierce and powerful, eager to keep all power for himself. Only by his death can he be conquered by his Son. Should I continue?
No, what do you think about that? Just wondering what you think about what you just read.
Well, you know, I would say just that first sentence there, healing is accomplished the instant the sufferer no longer sees any value in pain. I don't see any value in pain anymore. I mean, my pain was sent to wake me up, and every once in a while I'll slip back into forgetfulness, and my pain will rush in to wake me up again, to remind me, thank you for the reminder that I have, you know, fallen back into unawareness. So I can find some gratitude for it. But, you know, there's no value in coddling my pain as far as, you know, holding it dear. And identifying with it. I don't identify with my pain anymore. It's not who I am. So just that first sentence alone speaks to where I'm at and where I'm trying to remain, you know.
I like to remind the word sickness here is really alluding to the mind that is insane. So an insane mind in coarse language is sickness. He's not really talking about the sickness of the body. He's talking about the sickness of the mind.
Amy, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I feel like that it like Dove said at the beginning, it's a sign of our desire to author our own story. It's a decision that we are making, and that on sentence 7, sickness is a method conceived in madness for placing God's Son on his Father's throne, because we are trying to make up our own story and trying to take control of the illusion by overriding God's will for us, which is perfect health and happiness. And that when we do that, of course, it causes us pain because we are trying to usurp God's position in what the story actually is. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's, you know, it is, we may be talking about sickness of the mind, sickness of the separation from God. That's, you know, what makes that sickness seem so real. But it is manifested in the body and in the life, in the things that we do in the life, the things that happen to us. You know, so many circumstances that you know, I find myself in a circumstance where you know, I'm unhappy about something that I read in the news, or I see, you know, someone tells me a story about something that upsets me and makes me sad or angry or whatever. That is sickness. It's not just that, you know, you know, I'm being a normal person and living a normal life. What we call normal in this world is sickness. You know, if you get COVID and you suffer horribly, or you're miserable or angry or upset about it, that is sickness. It doesn't matter. And I know I posted this the other day on Facebook. It's from an old thing from Byron Katie, that a healed mind doesn't care what kind of body it's in. A healed mind doesn't care about anything, any circumstance in the world. So we can look toward the circumstances in the world to tell us, you know, the level of our healing, or the amount of you know, release we're getting or having here. And you know, if we're miserable, then, you know, like I said before, that's a proof that God is insane. God is not very good at what he does. He's not a very good God. And, you know, this is why, you know, if I can make myself sick, even though God wills that I be healthy, God wills that I be perfect, I think I can make myself sick. That's what he's saying when he's talking about the authority problem. I'm making myself something that God didn't make. I'm trying to make myself into something that is beyond what God created. And so that's why, you know, God didn't make sickness, and it can't be real. Just like Dove, when he recognized on January 14th, when he was, you know, going through radiation treatments and such for cancer, in the Course in Miracles, the lesson 14 says, God didn't make cancer, and so it's not real. And he realized when he read that, oh, I'm the one who's making up cancer. I think I'm the God of my body. I think I'm the God of me. And I don't know if he thought that in that particular way, but, you know, recognizing that, you know, if God didn't make it, who did? And, you know, if I made it, then that's insane.
I use that as an opportunity to stop doing my radiation treatments. And I got to tell you, if I didn't stop on that day, because I was up to treatment number 27 out of 35, the next 8 would have really been, I'll use the word tragic for me, because it had already taken its toll. I just heard it at the exact right time.
Yeah. And then
Thank God.
your
Thank
cancer
God.
was gone. That's the thing. Your cancer was gone then.
Yeah, the cancer was already gone. That's right.
Because God didn't make it. And you recognize that, and you turn the authority back over to God. Instead of keeping it for yourself, you let God be in charge. And, you know, that's when God, you know, I'm not saying that miraculous healings are going to come about. I'm saying that when you let God be in charge, whatever is exactly the perfect thing, as it was for Dove right then, because that was a tremendous, you know, I was a witness to that, and recognized that this is really true. this is not just some fantasy. This is really true.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
So because everything is capitalized with the he and the son, even the son is in capital, and I usually know there's a distinction between that. So on number 9, is it saying only by God's death can God be conquered by his son?
Yes,
Yes.
that's
what
what
it's saying.
he's
Yeah,
saying.
because it's also with the capital S. I think in my mind, I have a difference between the son with a capital S and the son with a small s. So it almost seems as though this is happening just before the separation, or what? I'm not.
Well, no. What he's saying, he's not saying. He's saying only if that could happen, if God's son could conquer him, then, and God's son could kill him, then we're in big time trouble. But God can't be killed by his son. That the only way we could conquer God is to destroy him, and we can't. It's impossible. So he's not saying it's possible that it can happen. He's not saying that is. He's just saying if you think that you can be in charge of yourself, then really what you think is that you can kill God.
Right, which I didn't think it was possible either, but I just got confused with the small s and the capital S with the son, because I'm not thinking that the son with the capital S would be thinking that way.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. You wouldn't be thinking that way. He's saying that, you know, if that could happen, then, you know, pigs can fly, and, you know, the earth can turn inside out, and, you know, I mean, anything can happen if that could happen. And it's just impossible for that to be true.
You look at sentence 7, it says sickness is a method conceived in madness. And I think the balance of the paragraph is pointing to that if we're in madness, then obviously we could think that we could kill God.
Yes.
And be in charge of God's death.
Son is taking the place of the father. You know, the course says that nowhere does it say the father ends and the son begins. The only caution is the father created the son didn't create the father. But in this world, as Voltaire said a couple hundred years ago, God created us in his image, and we return the favor. We think God is like us. He's emotional, he gets angry.
Yeah, I just want to real quick, because I've always stuck with the course since I've started it, but I've been in and out of the, in quotes, course community. You know, sometimes I'm here, sometimes I'm not. But in 2007, it took me 6 months. I read the text. Then I started doing the lessons. I'm going to just real quick. It's a long story, but I'm going to make it real quick. So I started doing the lessons. I got to lesson 21, and I felt such strong resistance that I pushed the book away from me, and I didn't pick it up again for a couple of months. And at that point, I said, look, I was by myself in this. So I said, let me go online and see if I can find anybody else who studies the course. Long story short, I happened upon Gather on Pal Talk. And I told Dove my story about the resistance and pushing the book away, and that I was going to restart the lessons. You know, I was planning on restarting the lessons from lesson 1, because I haven't opened the book in a couple of months. And Dove said, no, don't restart it. Pick it up from where you left off. And I picked it up from where I left off. And that was 2007, 14 years ago. And if Dove didn't help me then at that point in time, I might not still be here doing this course. I might not even be here. So when I say thank God, Dove, that you listen to your better instincts and stop taking that, you know, the medicine for your cancer when you stop taking it. I mean, thank God, really, Dove, and thank you. I just had to, you know, the opportunity came up for me to let you know. We never know how far the miracle reaches. Well, I had to let you know. I had the opportunity, and thank you, Dove.
Thank you, Tom.
That's really beautiful. Thank you, Tom. So why sentence 4 says, sickness is an election, a decision. It is the choice of weakness in the mistaken conviction that it is strength. When this occurs, real strength is seen as threat and health as danger. How can that be? How does this work in your life? That the idea that we think that weakness is strength. Can anybody think of an example where weakness might be perceived as strength?
Doesn't that kind of allude to the idea that we're afraid of our own brilliance and light? And that if we're suffering, then we don't actually have to accept the fact that all we really have to do is make the decision. And so we embrace it as if it's strength. Oh, I'm sick and I can't, whatever. Instead of having the actual real strength to say it's a decision that I make today and every day and every minute to accept the Holy Spirit rather than try to make our own story up. Thanks.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. If you all can hear me, that we really, when we go deep within ourselves, still have this martyr, I'm a victim of the world I see mentality. So even a lot of people that are sick or have illness that don't go away, like diabetes or high blood pressure or cancer, maybe even that they're dealing with, it's easy to slip into that story that, well, it's God's will, and we kind of like put ourselves on the altar. Like, I love the joke that someone told not too long ago. Someone was talking all this, I'm a victim, I'm making sacrifices. And the lady said to the other lady, get down off the cross, we need the wood. We just love getting up on that cross, and if sickness is a way that, we can say, oh yeah, this is real. My leg is broke. This is real, so the ego just kind of can just jump in there real easy, I think, with sickness, and just kind of make us feel like, well, I'm a victim. This is beyond my control. This just happened to me. So, I think that's where that thing that we think, and I think we were reading a few weeks ago about how, we don't, I think in one of the lessons though, but where we even resist, last week, where we kind of just resist. If we're praying for something that's going to create fear, you say, well, I'm praying for health. I'm praying to be well. But God will not answer a prayer that's going to invoke more fear. And then we can be so afraid of healing and so afraid of being well, like the lady just said. We kind of in denial of our own power. Because if we if we truly get healed, then it's like, oh well, you mean I can do this? You mean it's on me? You know, if I stay sick, then I'm a victim, you know. But then if I heal myself, then wait a minute, you mean this is all on me? Everything I'm doing, everything that's happening, I'm doing. So I think it's another way to deny that we are really the responsible party, that we are not a victim of the world we see in any way.
Wow, that's beautiful, Regis. That just rang a bell in my head, because yeah, I think you're right. And in fact, look around in the world. A lot of what gives people power in this world is the fact that they're the victim, that they are the one that's been mistreated or that is worrying about being mistreated. And I mean, you can see it in all the different like social movements that are going on. You know, some people are afraid that they're going to be replaced and taken over, and so they have to raise up their own power in order to try to maintain their state in life. And other people have been being mistreated, and so they want to raise up their power to be and they can say, well, look at all the bad things you've done to me. They can use that as a leverage to get different treatment or better treatment, or our whole society works that way, is that we're constantly trying to come in control of our own situation. And we think that part of being in control of me, being in control of my situation, means that I got to control your situation, because if you don't do what I think you need to do, then I'm going to have a difficulty or some kind of problem. And you're thinking the same thing about me. And so we're just running around being victims ourselves, believing ourselves to be victims of each other, and blaming the other for our state, our situation, when in reality, if we would just suck it up and just say, it is what it is. Now, I've heard you say that a million times, Regis. It is what it is. And, stop arguing with it. Stop, like Byron Kaye says, when I argue with reality, I lose every time. So, how about we just own up to our situation and get honest about our motives for the things that we do. I recognize when I'm manipulating people by, appearing to be weak, or appearing to be needy, or also by appearing to be powerful and wanting to control them. So, I can recognize when I'm doing it. I don't like it, and it's not nice, and I don't feel like a better person because of it, but I know that I do it. And that's the first thing, is to notice when you're using sickness as a tool, or as a some kind of leverage, or something that, and I'm not talking just about sickness of the body, or being victimized, or there's a million ways that I can use that concept to try to manipulate you into doing what I want you to do. And I think the answer is just be honest with yourself about it, and know when you're doing it. Ask the Holy Spirit to help you. Does that make sense? Is that?
Yeah, but there's another thing too, because nobody makes themselves sick, their body sick consciously. They're not doing like, okay, I'm going to make my body sick. The thing is, because in the first, he says, healing is accomplished, the suffer no longer. It's the value in the ego mind that we value this mind. That is the problem. Once you don't value this mind anymore, you cannot be sick, because what this mind will tell you, you no longer value it. Because ask anyone who's sick, they didn't ask that, and they didn't do it constantly. Is because it's a belief. Because we have that mind tells us that people can be sick. There's hospital, there's doctors. So it's the value we still keep of this mind. That is the sickness. Because it's a world we made of sick bodies and hospitals and doctors. It's like the ego lives its own world, and we're caught up in this world. So we have to stop valuing this mind. That is where we're sick. That is where we're caught up in sickness.
Yeah, I agree with you on that too. I think there's so many ways that we can be experiencing sickness, not just with the body, with the mind, with sick of the soul, sick in my heart. I'm heart sick many times. I look at the world, every day. I was saying this today, I cry more often now than I ever did before. And, I just weep over, all the, all the things that seem to be happening in the world. And, why is that? It is because I believe something is really happening. And that is the sickness. The sickness is the belief that there's something really going on here, and taking it seriously and seeing it as, people are really suffering. Or animals are suffering or something, things are suffering. So who is responsible for that? It is only me. I'm the only one who can look and maybe recognize that nothing really has gone wrong, because this is what the Course tells us is we just think something went wrong. Nothing's really gone wrong at all. And this is a dream that we're living in.
I also want to look at the motive for being sick, or to be a victim, or to be abused or unfairly treated, is I'm innocent. The victimizer is the guilty party. And in this world, everybody likes to feel sorry for the victim and to punish the victimizer. But we're really saying, look at me. I'm not guilty. I'm innocent. That person did it to me. So that's projecting guilt. And as long as you think the guilt is outside, you're holding on to the guilt over here. So, sickness is nothing more than a defense against the truth. That's lesson 136. And as long as I feel that I'm unfairly treated, I'm saying, God, hey, love me, because my own brother doesn't love me. You're arguing with God from a place that you think is weakness, the weakness of being innocent, the strength of being innocent, but you're actually being weak, which is exactly what he's saying there. And that's the question you asked. When is the mistaken conviction that weakness is strength? And it's strength when you think that makes you innocent. Obviously, if you think someone is doing it to you, you're believing in separation, and as long as you believe in separation, there is guilt. Period.
Esther, she talked about Esther. She mentioned one time a story about when Jerry Hicks was still alive, that Abraham spoke through her and showed her how there was a situation. They was traveling in their bus, and she was debating with Jerry over just for instance, whether they was going in the right direction, or whether they were on the right highway or not. And she realized that she would rather them be lost than for Jerry to be right. She would she would rather they be, she realized I would rather win this argument. I would rather us be lost. She like, if I win this argument, that means we're lost. And she realized, and that's how we are with sickness. You know, this world is to prove that God is not real, that we can't trust God, we can't trust love. So how twisted is it for us? Well, if I get well, if I get healed, then I'm really trying to prove, the reason I'm here, I'm trying to prove that God is not real, that this world is real, that I can't trust God. So it's just really a twisted reverse psychology. And that's the whole purpose of the course, is to undo this twisted psychology that we have. That's everything is opposite, you know, this opposite world. So it's like, do I really want to be well? Because if I'm well, that mean God is, that mean love is, that mean peace is, that mean abundance is. So I'm not really sure I want to be well, because I'm also trying to prove that I'm a victim of the world I see. You know, so it's real, it gets real twisted. And it's so simple that we make it twisted.
That's
That's the perfect example of, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Choose one. You can't have both. Yeah, I want to be right that I'm sick and I need help.
Yeah, that is a perfect example, and believe me, you know, I don't want to go on to any, you know, my own past problems, but I did recognize the last year with all the political nonsense that had been going on, and all the stuff that was going on around the election, and you know, I remember, you know, getting in arguments with people over things on Facebook, and, you know, and in person. You know, one day I just had to sit myself down and say, you know, what am I so afraid of? You know, why am I so afraid that I'm willing to, you know, cut my own sister off, or cut, you know, these people off because, you know, they, you know, something that they think, a thought in their mind, an idea. And, you know, I recognize seriously that I would rather cut off my own arm than to let them be right, or to want them to be right. You know, I was like in my mind praying for, you know, the people I thought were evil to fail and miserably and have horrible things happen to them, because I would rather have that happen, you know, than for me to admit in any way at all that they might be innocent or they might be right. I mean, if I could think, you know, they're just perfectly innocent, holy sons of God, and, you know, they're the Christ and have done nothing wrong. And, you know, there is no right or wrong in this world. It's all just, you know, this is just a story. Then where would my power be? Where would my power be if I couldn't argue about it anymore? If I didn't have any anger in me about it, or any fear in me about it? You know, how could I attack them or hurt them for thinking that way if I don't have that in me anymore? I really felt like I had to maintain that anger inside of me, or I would just be nothing. And that's just crazy. But, you know, I don't think I'm the only one. And maybe I am the only one. And if I can fix that, we'll all be well. But does that make sense?
Yes. It's the perfect example of, do you want to be right or happy? I mean, I need do nothing is to be happy. But if I want to argue, I want to be right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, our hour is up. I think maybe we can start again.
I thought you wanted to go like at least another 10, 15 minutes.
Oh, okay, we can do that. Absolutely. If you guys are up for it, we'll do that. I don't want to, and then if people need to go, they can go, I guess. They don't have to stay. So do you want to read the next paragraph? Anybody want to read the next paragraph?
I would read.
Okay.
And what in this insane conviction does healing stand for? It symbolizes the defeat of God's Son and the triumph of his Father over him. It represents the ultimate defiance in a direct form, which the Son of God is forced to recognize. It stands for all that he would hide from himself to protect his life. If he is healed, he is responsible for his thoughts. And if he is responsible for his thoughts, he will be killed to prove to him how weak and pitiful he is. But if he chooses death himself, his weakness is his strength. Now has he given himself what God would give to him, and thus entirely usurped the throne of his creator. For me, that last line says it all. We're trying to play God here and take over God's role of writing this story of what is going on and how our life is going to be, and that we can die. And yeah, it's just a symbol. And that it's the ultimate defiance.
It's in this section. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say also that it says it stands for all that he, if he is healed, he is responsible for his thoughts, which is kind of what we were already saying. We're trying to make ourselves be the ones that are in charge and writing the story. And that's scary to us, to accept that we are the ones that are making the decision. And that's a scary thing for us. Thanks.
I want to say, I saw how this chapter, as you were reading that, I thought of my family and how they were so afraid of COVID, and they hand sanitized themselves to death where they actually got COVID. So one thing I did when I started reading this course was I kept monitoring, my thoughts, and I think that's what the whole point of the course is, so that you become consciously aware of the movie that you're seeing. So you started seeing how the media instills so much fear and how real this pandemic became worldwide. And my family became so afraid of this illness that we had hand sanitizers. We were cleaning 24/7. And I kept asking David, how come I'm not getting it? He's like, because you don't believe in it. So I'm so glad I found this book at a painful time in my life when I was insane, because it really did help in seeing every single channel talking about COVID. I didn't go crazy scared about it, and I stayed healthy, but I noticed that this course makes you monitor everything. You're like, is this real? Nah. You start questioning what is real. And you laugh. So I think of Dobbs' mantra, you gotta laugh, because if you're taking everything so seriously, you're insane. So once I start listening to one vaccine's coming out, the second one, the third one's being pulled out, the third one's killing everyone, I start laughing now, and I go, this is utter BS, I'm done. And I don't take things so seriously anymore. So I'm really glad I'm here with you. I see pictures of people taking the vaccine. I go, okay, it really is what you believe in, because my mother was sitting in the hospital right next to her best friend, and her best friend passed right before her eyes. And she just kept thinking, I'm going to get out of here. This isn't real. I'm going to get out of here. This isn't real. And she's like, Jen, am I traumatized? How come I'm here? How come I'm here? She made a conscious decision to see herself out of the hospital. She was seeing herself walking around the house, cooking and eating with all her grandkids again. Yeah, wanted to share.
Thank you, Jen. That's, yeah, that is really beautiful. And yeah, you know, that it's the question of, you know, the idea of, you know, what do you do about COVID? Of course, you know, I got the vaccine and, you know, and used the hand sanitizer, and my partner is a nurse. So we we have had, you know, every cupboard in our house is filled with hand wipes and sanitizers and stuff now, because, you know, she, you know, works with the people in the COVID unit, and she's like, you're not getting this, we're not getting this. You know, but I haven't really been afraid of getting it. And I have been a lot healthier this past year, mainly because I have been social distancing and wearing a mask. I'm going to do that probably for the rest of my life now, because, you know, I never realized, you know, how much, you know, crap you're breathing in all the time from everything in the world. So anyway, but it's not because I'm afraid. It's just because it's a lot more convenient not to be sick. I've found myself a lot happier not being sick all the time, which, you know, before I was just you know, I had bronchitis and pneumonia 2 or 3 times a year. I haven't been sick at all like that since, you know, since last year. So I think it's kind of cool. It's a real relief to me. Um, but yeah, this, the way that this paragraph is written, you know, really does explain the whole idea of, you know, why it is that we don't want God to be right. We can't let God be right about who we are and what we are, because then we would have to just give up and go home. You know, we'd have to just stop, you know, trying to make the world work. You know, we recognize it doesn't, and it won't, and it never will, and it never has. And, you know, forget it, you know, quit wasting your time and come home. And yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts about this?
It's also called the authority problem. The course says the only real problem is the authority problem. Who's the authority? The Father or the Son?
Yeah.
Chapter 3, section 6, it's called Judgment and the Authority Problem.
Yeah, we're just rebellious kids. All right. Does anybody else have anything they want to talk about or share?
Hi, I would just like to share about Jen's point, where there's two people, both with the same condition, and it's all how you look at it. You could have the same condition, but if you're living in light and joy, and the chances of you getting better are so much higher than the person that's moaning and groaning. Some people are born with like birth defects, and it doesn't affect them. They're just so happy and joyful. And, you know, sometimes we look at people and think like, oh, how can they live with that? If that was me. And it is just all comes back to the mind and how we're going to look at the situation that we're in. And that's all I'd say. Thanks.
Yeah, and you know, you bring up a really good point there, because whenever whenever I think, oh, how can a person live with that? Or, you know, I look at other people and I think that they're suffering. What I'm really looking at them and thinking is, you can't handle it. You're not as, you know, you're not as sophisticated as I am. If I was in your position, I wouldn't mind it at all, but I bet you are really miserable, because I don't think that my brother is strong. I don't see my brother as being the Holy Son of God. Basically, I mean, it comes right down to that. And so, you know, I see little children who, you know, are born without an arm or a leg, like you said, and birth defects, or have, you know, some terrible disease, and they're happy and smiling and playing. And you know, I know adults who have had, I had friends in school when I was a kid that had polio and became, paralyzed or, crippled in many ways because of it. And, I used to look at them and think, oh, you poor thing, I feel so bad for you. You'll never have a regular life. You'll never have this or that or the other. But then as an adult, becoming friends, like on an equal intellectual level with persons who have those things, came to realize that what I saw as being unbearable, they saw as, this is just my life. And, that they took it in stride and were happy people and, were not in a grievance about it for their whole lives. There's some people that, yeah, they're angry and upset about things like that and they carry it with them. But a lot of people just say, this is my life. This is where I'm at. And, I'm who I am. It has nothing to do with my body. And so, we shouldn't, or I shouldn't second guess people or think that they're limited in their ability to be happy based on their physical, whatever their physical or country they live in or family or, any of the things, circumstances that people are in. Look at your brother and say they are living this life because this is the life they're here to live. They have all the strength and ability to live that way, and to think otherwise about them, to demean them in any way is, it's just not recognizing their divinity.
And it's not helpful to project our own sympathy or pain or fear onto them rather than see the light in them. And by seeing the light in them, we see the light in ourselves, and it all helps us all to get to where we're trying to get to rather than being in fear for them. Thanks.
Yes. That is why peace has one condition: equality. Unless you see your brother as yourself, there is no peace. It's always upside down. One's more, one's less. The equality is what gives you the awareness of heaven now, where we're all one.
Yeah, we're all one, but we have to remember what we see when we see let's say somebody crippled. It's not real. We're looking at a dream. So he might seem happy or sad. It's not real. It's a dream. In the real world, he is not crippled. He is perfect.
That's right.
So it always boils down to that same mind that we look through the lens of the same mind, the dream, the illusion. That is the thing. There's no cripple. There's no sickness. There's just me looking at this mind, showing me that movie. That is what I'm doing.
Yes, and that's the absolute truth about all of it. So no matter how we navigate through our life, if we can just remember that, I'm not a body, I'm free, I'm still as God created me, really means that there are no crippled people and there is no starvation and there is no world and none of those things. We're what God created, not the sick world that we see.
Not even real. We shouldn't even call life because it's not life. It's an illusion. It's a dream. So it's not even my life what I'm experiencing. I'm experiencing from a mind that does not exist. So it doesn't even exist. So it's not his life, her life, my life. It's not real.
Exactly.
So that's when we have to work on not believing, because what we see, it's not outside, it's in the mind of the ego to stop believing in this. And that's how it eventually it goes away. That ego mind dies off, it disappears. But as long as we feed it, oh, I look at that person was sick. We're still feeding that it's true. We're giving it our power. Without our power, it has none, zero, zilch. This is what we have to work hard on this, but that is the only problem, is this mind. It's only, like you said, there's only one problem, and it's us looking there, putting our awareness on it. We still value it, because otherwise we would end looking there completely, and reality would be there instantly.
Exactly. That's quite true. Absolutely, Kathleen.
And you know, when we, as Doug was saying, there has to be equality. You know, you think about the handicap in our society, who we call the handicap, and you think about what they have to say about themselves. They're like, don't look at me with those sad eyes. Don't look at me with those pitiful eyes. You know, see me as equal. You know, yes, you can hold a door for me. Yes, you can assist me, but don't look at me with those pitiful, sad eyes like I'm some kind of victim. They don't want that, you know. And as the person said a minute ago before me, you know, don't project your sorrow and your sympathy out onto other people, because that's you. That's what we have done. We have, as we talked about today in this week about, in the lessons for this week about happiness, you know, we have put so many qualifiers on our happiness. So what we're saying is, oh, if I was in that wheelchair, I couldn't be happy. You know, oh, if I was in your situation, I don't think I could be as happy. You know, so we are just projecting out our own stuff on other people, and they don't want it. They're like, see me as equal. Don't look at me pitiful.
Yeah, they don't deserve that. They don't deserve to be disrespected that way. They don't deserve to be seen as anything other than perfect and whole, because they are, and that's the truth.
Otherwise, it's a judgment that we're placing against them, like a grievance against God.
Whoa, bingo. It comes back to God now. And you're absolutely right. I mean, the whole thing is we are blaming God. We're thinking that God has given some people some things and other people something else. And there is inequality. There is injustice going on. And, you know, that's this whole thing of, you know, usurping the throne of God, because then we become the judge of God. And we think God has done bad things. And we think God is an idiot. I went the most of my life thinking God was an idiot. So, you know, I'm glad to know that it's not true. That was just a story.
God does not create bodies.
That's right.
We always say, well, why would God do that to somebody? God doesn't create bodies. And Jesus says in the Course, and it's one of the lines that you come to and you just don't understand why he's saying it. He says, in no instant does the body exist. In no instant does the body exist. So why are we talking about bodies? The bodies are on the screen. The mind is viewing this, as Catherine was saying, that the mind is viewing the screen, but what's on the screen doesn't really exist. It's our projection of what would happen if we were separate and apart, and God created me as a body, and then I'm going to die, and God is to blame for creating me as a body that's going to die. There's a line in the Course that says, does anyone ever ask, would a benign, kind father create children to die? But yet death is as certain in this world as anything else.
Yeah.
There is no death.
All right. Does anybody have any more thoughts they'd like to share?
I was just glad to practice today's lesson. God's peace and joy are mine. And so the more I say, the more I believe it. So grateful for the lessons. It was very helpful.
And Ken Wapnick's commentary on that is this lesson therefore corrects the ego's insanity by teaching that God's gifts of happiness, peace, and joy, if they are ours, are everyone else's too. They cannot be stolen or taken, but simply accepted. So everyone has that same happiness, peace, and joy.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you all for hanging out with us and finding your way through the maze of trying to figure out how to get in here. I'm really excited that everybody could come. Just, trying to make things better and better all the time for us, to be able to share these things is lovely. And we are part of the One Mind Foundation. The One Mind Foundation does, Dove does work, charitable work through One Mind Foundation, and I run the ACIM Gather arm of it that is all about encouraging people to teach and bringing, allowing people to share this beautiful Course in Miracles. So yeah, if anybody wants to donate, you can go to what is it? paypal.me/onemind18 or to the onemindfoundation.org, and you can put a donation in there. And as I was saying earlier, the way that we were able to upgrade our Zoom so that we can actually have closed captioning, or the text to word to text being put on the screen and such, is because people gave donations. So it's always such a wonderful thing to have a resource that we can just make things better and better. And please come to ACIM Gather for A Course in Miracles. You can find our website, acimgather.us, and see our schedule, and maybe come in and hang out.
And this is also on YouTube. I don't know, do you have the title or the link for that?
Oh, the YouTube channel? Yeah, let me go and get the link for our YouTube channel.
So if you want to review this or share it with someone else, it's always on YouTube.
Yeah, and I'll probably have this on by tomorrow. And then also, I was saying earlier, there is a possibility, and we could have even today been able to put this on live on Facebook and live on YouTube, so that people can come here and join us.
Yeah.
On YouTube or on Facebook. So yeah, here's the link to the YouTube channel. I'm going to put it in the chat. And it's just ACIM Gather. And I'm putting all of our videos as we get them on there. And it's been going, I think it's going along okay. I'm not doing any of this to get new users or to bring people in. It really is just a chance to give people, a resource to learn more and to participate. Because for me, in my opinion, the participating is the most important part. And I tend to overly participate, so.
And again, if anyone wants to be a guest teacher on ACIM Gather, just go to our website, acimgather.us or .com. There's a schedule there, and there's an open thing. Just contact Lynn. She'll be glad to have you as a guest teacher on a regular basis. And that's the fastest way to develop trust. And trust, of course, is the bedrock of all of God's teachers.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dove, for that. All right, you guys, I love you. Thank you for coming. It's been a beautiful time, and look forward to seeing you all again next Thursday. Hopefully everyone will know how to get here.
Thanks, Lynn. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
all.
Thank you.
Much love.
Thank you.
Good night. Thanks.
Bye.
Night.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
you.